Can everybody hear me? Oh. With meditation and then the Metta Sutta after. So make sure that we're sitting comfortably and as close to the correct posture as possible. Shoulders back, hands either palm down on our thighs or knees or resting in our lap. The spine straight, the chin slightly tucked. We can reflect for a moment on the words of Jalaluddin Rumi. Come, come, yet again come. Even if you have broken your vows 1,000 times, come again. Ours is not a caravan of despair. The past is the past. Take a moment to feel the grandeur and meaning of your own presence in existence, because it counts. Connect that meaning to the very posture. That you are sitting in such a way as to invite God into your heart. Or that you're peering beyond the veils into the vast mystery of life. Your own self. And this very, very important, crucial intention to explore. Dropping any ideas of where we think we should be going, which block us from letting go and relaxing into just observing. I want you to imagine you're going to have a child, and the doctor told you it was going to be a boy. And you study up on how to bring up a boy. And you fix the room for a boy. And as the baby comes out, you realize it's a girl. and you have nothing prepared in your head for how to encounter this girl, the only way is to be with her, to know her by observing. Observing here means living with, breathing with, being with. Only in the being with do the new elements open up. I want you to have this attitude towards your own self. Really, right from the beginning. The words in the books merely guide us to where to look. But what we're looking at is unknown. And needs a fresh, relaxed, open sensibility. So with such a mind, allow your attention to settle on the breath. And really feel, observe, be with the body breathing. First of all, allow the body breathing out to soothe and relax the conceptual mind and any tensions within the body. What's it like when we allow our attention to notice what the exhalation can do to release tensions? Is it different than our normal day-to-day experience in which we're breathing all the time? Is it different when we pay close attention and become one with our breath? And as you're breathing in, we make sure that we stay alert So bring your attention more to the in-breath now. What often happens for meditators is as the thinking mind soothes, we fall asleep. This is an obstacle to yogis. We need to be able to know that we can control our energy by consciously making ourselves more alert as we breathe in. We can raise the lightness, the brightness of our mind. Notice this. Breathing in, alertness. Breathing out, relaxation. Really feel the whole effect of the breath on the body. It can be very clear that the abdomen moves. Can we notice the chest moving? The shoulders? Like you're caring for a newborn baby. Really pay attention to yourself and your breath like you never have before. Do your cheeks move when you breathe? Your neck? And you feel the wholeness of your body as you're breathing. Is the in-breath warmer than the out-breath? Is there a gap between the in-breath and the out-breath? Can you note the quality of the in-breath? Is it smooth, coarse? Is it jerky at some points? Is there a correlation in any parts of the body? Any tension affecting the smoothness of the in-breath? Is this different from the out-breath? Again, come back to a more holistic, somatic experience of the whole body breathing. The thinking mind may get itchy. Can we tune ourselves into the pleasure of this simple contentment of being with ourselves? As we feel the body like like a bobbing, gentle ocean. We recognize the awareness. It's just the sensations of the breath and our awareness. Gradually come back to feeling your body breathe. Feeling yourself in the surroundings, in the space. Gently open your eyes. And we'll start with the Metta Sutta. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud or demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will. Whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being free from all sense desires, awakens from suffering and discovers everlasting peace. When we get the metta sutta down, we should be all fine. I hope everyone's well. Enjoying the breathing meditation. So, excuse me, it's having a coffee, so if the class goes twice as fast or twice as long, I abscond responsibility. So last week the teachers in the hot seat. This week it's the students. Such traditionally it's been done for thousands of years. That's the order in which you kind of do the classes. So what's the? I've got my notes on here this time. So yeah, and we're gonna. What is an authentic dharma? So the first one. There's some kind of fascinating stuff here. Let me read out. An objective and open mind. First one. So this is like in the Dalai Lama's book, in the chapter that you've read. An objective and open mind. Hopefully everybody here's got a kind of open mind. Yeah. So from what I understand, in the East, they suffer from obsequiousness, and in the West, we suffer from arrogance. Yeah, in general, two kind of extremes, where you just believe whatever you're told, and the other is you want to challenge everything or try and show up at the person. Yeah. So that's the Sometimes it's easier to talk about the negative things rather than the positive qualities, because the positive qualities are just obvious. It's like when you're chatting to your friend, it's usually an open, objective conversation, isn't it? And it's like, unless they're a number 8 on the Enneagram, they will just generally just agree with each other. And they won't just go, well, what about that? Well, what about that? Well, what about that? It's kind of what we don't want to be like. Yeah, we don't want to. Like if you go along to a Dharma teacher, and that Dharma teacher's teaching for 2 hours, and you notice there's like one word he wasn't sure about, and you go, oh, what does that word mean? This is the wrong kind of student. Yeah. It's different if you want your questions to come from if you're practicing, and then there's something you're not sure about within your practice. Like if you're maybe like a heart surgeon and you're not sure about which, I don't know any of the things about the heart. It's probably arteries in the heart, right? And maybe they have to cut things, and you're like, do I cut the right one or the left one? It's like, and you go, well, I find when I'm leaning over that my shoulder gets sore. Is there a method to bring my shoulder down but keep my balance? Yeah. You don't want to. That's questions you want to ask your fellow surgeon when you're learning, not when they're reading through a list of medical terms and you recognize they might, oh, you read that out, but I'm not sure if he knows that one. What does that one mean? Just to show him up. Yeah. You may want to know the technical medical terms as well. I mean, you're not in surgery yet, but you might want to know them. But you can generally feel the difference between someone's asking a question out of genuine curiosity, someone's asking a question out of their practice, and someone's being an ass. Like, just being a smart ass. So, I mean, intellectual quickness and... Yeah, so as a student, just questions coming from your practice. And you definitely don't want to believe. There's... because once you become a believer, then we move into fundamentalism and sectarianism. There's a beautiful, I'm not very good with names, but there's a Sufi master who said, better a group with its impurities than a sectarian group with its purities. So you might find a sectarian group and they've got even their best qualities are not as good as a group that's not sectarian and it has faults. Because a sectarian group destroys the very fundamental essence of religion, which is to unify all human beings together. And if you don't want to listen to another human being because you're worried, because they're not good enough, or their doctrine's not right, or this or that, you've closed them off. You have defeated the very purpose of every spiritual path I've ever come across, which is to open up to everyone. Yeah, your ways, your religion, your methods are close you off from other people. Yeah, so you want to be really. If a group is like that, they're like a manifestation that you've had wrong students coming through like this, because you're not objective. If you can't quote another teacher to a group, or can't say, what about this book from another thing? And they go, that's not part of our tradition, that's wrong, that's not. And they themselves are not objective. They themselves are not open-minded. The very teachers, the group is not open-minded, isn't it? It's like, so you have to find, we all have this issue. Yeah. This is something we work on, isn't it? This is something we work to be open-minded. This is something we can really discuss and contemplate. For example, so it's to be free from strong beliefs, because later on they'll become an obstacle. Yeah, we're going to crack down on all our beliefs. Yeah. Yeah? The fundamental belief is that we exist, right? As a separate individual person. Anybody not think they believe? Anyone thinks they're beyond that? It's all right. I know that you do, otherwise you'd be in nirvana. Although some of you may be in nirvana and you're just coming along to support the group. My apologies to them. So we've all got beliefs, yeah? Like, for example, you might think that men and women are equal. You might think it's wrong for women to wear a hijab. Yeah? Anybody got beliefs like this? Like you can think of your own ones? Anyone here think that the West is better than the East? Anyone here got a belief that China is not as good as the UK? Anyone here think we should all have sexual freedom? Anyone here think that homosexuality is right? No one? Oh, shit. I do. That's it. Each to their own. But it's just a belief, right? Because we get into the next one, which is do you have an open mind about it? Or you just go, I'm right. Women should not have to cover themselves up. I'm right. Yeah. You know better than the prophet of God. I'm sure you do. Because you're you, yeah? Veganism, you believe that it's right, you know. It's a belief, yeah. It's wrong to kill animals and what you're doing matters. And not these beliefs. Nothing wrong with that. Do you have an open mind about it? Are you willing to be challenged about it? Not in some kind of aggressive way. Are you willing to get to the stage where you go, oh, actually, I don't know. This is a good student. This is somebody who's, you honor, this is the way I put it, you completely honor how you see things. Knowing that they're just how you see things in the moment. And that we always change and grow and adapt. And if something comes along, like Buddha says, that makes sense to us, and it feels true and right, then we change. It'd be very difficult, maybe you'll see, to progress on the path if you just go, no, I'm not changing. I'm not changing my values. It'd be difficult to learn on this path. So the second one is the intelligence to assess between right and wrong, appropriate and inappropriate. So again, this can be open for lots of discussion. Appropriate and inappropriate is more, I think maybe we'd use the term cultural, and also what can just be effective in a room full of people to learn, as opposed to what's actually right and wrong. Yeah, more utilitarian, utilitarian, practical applications a lot of the time. This gets into, I mean, you can discuss this. This gets really into interesting territory. The purpose of entering into the spiritual path is to be a no self. That's what we're doing. Yeah. Whichever kind of approach you look at it from, Sufism, Buddhism, it's to let go of the personal self into the one. Yeah. So then our behavior needs to be appropriate to that goal. This is a kind of classical way of learning. Like my Lama said, we go over and hanging out with Tibetans. He says they're unbelievably different than Americans, as you can imagine. Hold on, excuse me. Nice. It's probably inappropriate to drink coffee. And he said they're like, he noticed that like in those Americans with a bunch of Tibetans, and it's just how, or Westerners, how we communicate. It's like, what do you do when you meet someone? How are you? And what do you do? And then like you sit and talk about yourself. Right? Sit and talk about yourself, talk about what you've done, and you've been here, you've been there. It's just natural. It's part of our culture. It's to talk about yourself, pick up yourself, be yourself. And if like you go on a date, it's like to talk about yourself. And he says it's really, really weird hanging out with Tibetans because don't do it. Yeah, it's like somebody said they may have travelled all around the world, and it's going, where have you been? Oh, not many places. It's like, have they been like, maybe like yogis? And it's like, how's your practice going? Not that well. Still trying to get meditation. That's it. There's no display of a promoting a self. Yeah. And then he said when they walk out, they go like that. So that means full of themselves. That's, I think, full of themselves. Yeah, just yak about me, what I'm doing, where you're going. He says when they get together, they generally talk about dharma. You can be interested more to discuss it before the kind of viewpoints. It's like, do you think that's right?
Can I raise my hand?
Aidan.
I just really love that where the story of the Tibetan people not promoting themselves or yakking on about themselves. I really like that. I feel like I would like to be more like that, not so self-aggrandizing or what have you. And yeah, that's enough.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And it's not promoting yourself. Like when you come in, so the appropriate way to be is to not wear tight clothes. Not to like display yourself. It's to be anonymous. So you see, traditionally, if you see Sufi groups, a lot of them, they all wear the same clothes. There's no one standing out. Yeah, maybe there's just a distinction between the sheikh and everyone else. But again, in some circles, you can't even make that distinction. Or in the ordained community, there's no distinction other than the teacher sitting on a throne to represent honouring the dharma. Yeah, there's nothing standing out. So you don't wear strong perfume. Yeah? So you're always thinking about other people. Yeah, nothing to stand out. You're always trying to be like quiet and appropriate, and it's just kind of old common sense ways of being people. Now, as my Lama says, in the culture in Tibet. And in my experience, that's fine when there's a living tradition. But really, Tibet's only like 1,000 years old. So it's a bit more 1,000 years old in its spirituality. If we go back 1,000 years in our spirituality, probably like a thriving spiritual communities. I'm not sure the date of Julian of Norwich and all the mystics. They maybe come a bit round about the same length of time. Saint Teresa of Avila, Saint John of the Cross. Not sure when Master Eckhart was. Yeah, people really practiced. Yeah, it's the same with Islam. It's like 1,400 years old now. It's starting to. I mean, there's the modern invasion, but again, incredible cultures. So people I know that have been to Iraq, just it's unbelievably kind people, like unbelievably kind. Just couldn't believe it. Yeah, people practicing the religion. That's all they do is practice the religion. For some of you here know how hard it is to do the prayer 5 times a day. It just means God's on your mind all the time. All the time. Yeah, and people living, and they just say their body is just to serve God. That's what the body's for, to serve God. Yeah. If you lose that living tradition, then what happens? You just have a bunch of fake people with fake humility, pretending to do things in the name of religion, which then it just becomes a power trip. So it's again an inverted ego in which you're humble in order to get what you want. You're humble in order to stand out. Yeah. You say the right things so you to fit in. You help people because that's what you're told to do. Yeah, it's like there's 2 energy on the Enneagram. Yeah. You don't mean it. So if you want to say something but you don't because you think I shouldn't speak out like that, then that's the ego. And then people are really easy to control. And we can't deny that we're like the way we are in the West. Yeah, like as Aidan says, we can bring some of those qualities in for sure. If you feel that you're just blabbering about yourself. You want to get to the stage though where you're probably what Aidan's saying, you just get bored by the sound of your own voice, right? Isn't it? It's just, I'm so sick of my stories. I'm so sick of it. That's renunciation. That's it. That is renunciation. If you want to know what renunciation is you get a good job, try and get a really good car, get a really good partner, live in a beautiful country. Don't know, move to Hawaii. That's where a lot of people, beautiful sunshine. Get all those things and go, this sucks. Then you've got renunciation. I've got everything I've been told to get, everything I'm told by the culture, by society, that this is what is a good life, and it isn't. It's renunciation. And it's the same with the self. It's like, I've talked about myself again and again and again. I've done this, I've promoted myself, and it's like, sick of it. So you don't speak because you know that there's nothing worse that's coming out of your mouth when you're promoting yourself. But if you're just pretending to be humble, you're in big, big trouble, isn't it? You're just suppressing who you are. So I think it's an interesting discussion between the East and the West. Yeah. And we have to go through like a chaos. like at this unknowingness. It can be very difficult. Spiritual path can be very difficult. But collectively, like Osho says what's happening at the moment is a sign of higher mind, not lower. There's just an absolute chaos where all the old belief systems are crumbling, where people going through this like Christianity, just believing in a God as a person, but not practicing. And as Nietzsche said, God is dead. Can't go back to that. Believing in some big guy in the sky who just kind of comes along and manipulates you and things like that. That's dead. It's dead. Like a new spirituality has to emerge. As in people practicing kind of consciousness, finding truth, and the rest of it. And that comes through this peak of materialism where we just, and it's really beautiful because we go back to the first point. People probably still, maybe some of us here think our society might be good. And then when in actual fact, if you didn't have the belief in materialism, on this belief in evolution or whatever it is, you'd look at our society and say it's the most fucked up society that's ever been on the earth. It's so far from truth and living right. You have to be so utterly blind to not recognize it. There's people murdering each other. There's depression, like people committing suicide. People hate life. People have no purpose. It's just misery, pain, suffering, war, death. If you think that that is like evolution, you're out of your mind. But actually, you're not out of your mind. It's called belief. With any belief, like belief in materialism, evolution, you can do anything in front of your eyes. And you go, no, that's the way things are. This is still higher than Muhammad. Out of your mind. That's the power of belief, no? So I was listening to someone, listening to some sheikh says his mum said in San Francisco back in the 30s that if someone got killed, it was front page news for like a month. He said now people get shot every day. Yeah, that's our culture. People just get shot, oh, that's fine. People get stabbed, fine. Oh, no, it's stabbing culture. Yeah, that's it. Heroin chic to commit suicide. Oh, basically just, it's unbelievably perverse and corrupted society. Still, like, let's kill other cultures for it. Yeah, isn't it? So, it's like the power of belief. Probably still think you know better than like Islam. Probably still think. It's like, look, let's look at your culture. Like people just injecting themselves, committing suicide, all the rest of the things you said. It's like, no, we're better. Why? Because I just like the idea that women shouldn't be able to cover themselves up. Great. So these are things to think about, isn't it? So what's inappropriate and appropriate can change over time. Yeah. So a lot of stuff with the sex is like that, as far as I'm aware. And a lot of times you have to kind of balance up between whether everyone would get killed. Let's say you're in a spiritual group and you just openly said it's okay to have homosexuals. And if you did that, every single one of you would get killed. And to just go amongst yourself going, it's fine. But publicly going, yeah, no, we don't do that. Right? Whereas now, we don't have that worry. So then it's like, you see like spiritual teachers going, no, it's absolutely fine. Like gay tantra. So when people say things back in time, then doesn't mean they meant it. And we go back to the 4 what are they called? The four from last week. The four qualities that we need to adopt. The four aspirations. Don't rely on the teacher. Rely on the word. Don't rely on the word, rely on the meaning. Yeah. So it may be in different cultures and different times, they may say these words, but it doesn't mean they meant it. They meant it. Yeah. That's often the context in which spiritual groups would meet. If they said certain things, they'd all get killed. Because in the culture, you get killed. I think is it Iran? That's homosexuality is illegal. I know. It's still countries, right? There's quite a lot of them. It's African countries, and you're in a spiritual group. You can't just you might do. You might be brave like that, and think you might need to make a stand. Does everyone understand that distinction? Yeah, when you're practicing in this, like in say a small group in a culture that's going to arrest you if you publicly say something. Yeah, so you have to understand the meaning rather than the word. And the meaning of the spirituality is to love everyone and accept them for who they are. So when you read something, you might come across a text if you're gay, and it says like homosexuality is wrong, and it's like people can have a really strong reaction. Of course, because it's part of your identity that is being denied. But it doesn't mean that the teacher's meaning that. So this is part of the quality of being a student. You just remain open-minded and go, well, what's the quality of the teacher? It's like love and peace, and yes, so there may be a meaning behind this that I'm not understanding just now. Yeah, that's the quality of being a good student. So I'm digressing a little bit by talking about these things, but this is, we're recognizing what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, and what's right and what's wrong. What's right and what's wrong are more getting into the realms of the 10 non-virtuous actions and the 10 virtuous actions, which much more kind of deeply connected to our consciousness, we might say. Again, all karma is created by intention, but you need to have a pretty holy mind to kill people and it not be something negative, you know what I mean? So, for example, you can never point your feet at the teacher. Yeah. To me, this doesn't matter. And for Westerners, it just doesn't mean the same thing. As far as I'm aware, it's something like that, isn't it, in India, that someone might know, if there's any scholars out there, that they walk bare feet and they sometimes walk in cow shit. And so pointing your feet at the teacher kind of sometimes be pointing shit at them. I think it's something like that. That's the context in which it arises. But it'd be good to know that if you went to Asia, and you went to like a temple or monastery and you want to go on retreat, and as a teacher, don't point your feet at them. Yeah, if you go to India, Bhutan, Tibet, something like that, probably in Thailand, don't point your feet at the teacher. Yeah, that's the appropriate way to behave. Like a lot of the Vinaya, the Buddha's discipline arose out of what's appropriate and inappropriate, not what's right and not what's wrong. An appropriate way to learn. So when you go to Sufi gatherings and they're on their phone, that's inappropriate. I don't care what you say. I don't care what they do, what they say. I'm telling, like for here, it's just inappropriate. It's just not appropriate to be in the middle of a teaching and pick up your phone and start. It's not appropriate to do it with your friends. You should learn to do it with your friends. Yeah, you should ask permission to use your phone when you're with other people. Yeah, it's just no different than if you're talking to someone's talking to you and you just put the telly on, start watching it whilst they're talking to you. It's rude. Maybe we get a culture of rudeness, then we have a culture of rudeness. Yeah. But you can, if you can see energy, you can. It's just like you can almost just see the attention. It's just like it's fucking evil. That's what phones are. Yeah, an absolute curse. No doubt about it. Yeah. Again, maybe you've got the belief system. It's like if you have the belief that they program you that all change is progress, you're in big trouble. Yeah, just because something's changing, something's new, doesn't mean it's good, does it? Not all changes are progressively good for us. Quite clearly, a lot of changes are really unhealthy for us. If you don't understand that mobile phones are unhealthy for children's minds, like when you study in Dharma, again, your belief system has blinded you from the most obvious truth possible. Yeah, we're trying to overcome distraction, and they're being trained to be distracted. Yeah, like can't do anything for a few seconds. Some people. And what's that? I found out it's an amazing thing from my lama. It's like Americans are worse than people in the UK. I don't know about Canadians. You can tell me. They said that I don't know if it's NASA or the astronomy place gets phone calls regularly from people freaked out because they see the moon in daytime and they're like, what's happening? Yeah. They're just like, why is that? It's like some cataclysmic event is happening. It's like the moon's only meant to come out at night. Yeah. And it's like, and he's like a counselor. He says it's like some kids have never left New York. Like they've never left the city. Just don't know anything. They've never seen stars. But of course, we're right. Our society's the best, right? Yeah. Get those Muslims told, you're not allowed to cover up your women. You're wrong. You're evil people. Live more like us. Let's get the stabbings in, the godlessness, the meaninglessness, the purposelessness, the unemployment, the depression, the misery. Get them onto that TV and the phone, because we're right. Yeah. Which comes us to the third one. It's like when you fall into religion. I think it's the third one. There is a point. No, it'll be in the next one. We're going to talk about it on the next four. What's like when you fall into religion. Yeah, it's just part of your culture. Yeah, engaging in the Dharma out of an attachment to custom or tradition. You just bore into it. Your family's Christian, your granddad was a Christian, so you're a Christian. Yeah. Or you just happen to live near a teacher. Or you just happen to be like it in the family of Muhammad. No, just that's not the way to be a student. And so we just think, oh, I'm American. And I'm Italian. Italians are the best, right? Aren't they? Of course they are. Why? Because I was born there. What an achievement, isn't it? I unconsciously plopped out of my mother's vagina in this space here, and I looked up and someone named it Italy. It's the best, because that's where I plopped out. I get a couple of gold medals. I'm better than other human beings because I plopped out there. And when I plopped out there, there was a guy in a big white hat, and he cut my dick in half, or whatever it is. That's the best way. You know, circumcise me, or some Jewish tradition. I don't know, whatever it is. That's the best, that's the right way. Why? Because that's where I plopped out my mother's vagina, and that just happened to be the guy that they walk along to the church to, or whatever it is. That's not how to be a student. The third one, going back to the three, enthusiasm and interest in the subject, and aspires to enlightenment. So I'm just get you back up on the screen. So your bucket list gets down to 1, enlightenment. That's your bucket list. It gives you, suddenly though, you have actual purpose, rather than your bucket list being some random things that the culture tells you will make you interesting. As you get into your meditation, you realize that maybe you've already had the experience, some of you have been practicing for a while. You could go to Mount Everest, you could go to here, there, you could hang out at the best party, but actually the best time you have is just when you sit by yourself. Yeah, maybe you've had that experience already and your mind's still crazy. Yeah. And so enlightenment's when your mind's no longer crazy. Unless you can say that's one definition. Enlightenment is who you are when you're no longer crazy. Sometimes it can feel like some abstract phenomenon that, do I really want that? Then, at the end, that's when you need to be a good student and go, no, I may be reflecting wrong, I may be missing the meaning because of the words. So maybe that's more helpful, to think of enlightenment as yourself, when you're no longer crazy. And we have enthusiasm to not want to be crazy anymore. Yeah. And part of our craziness is this self thing, this following this erratic mind. Yeah. I think already you can see, if you just have like these 3 qualities, you just open, objective, here to learn, just practicing what you get taught, not believing it, but practicing it, looking at it, behaving with common sense, like in the Dharma center, in the room, not displaying yourself and having some meaning in your life, purpose, that you really enjoy your spiritual practice. Your spiritual practice is now how you know you need to live. Like, you couldn't live without reading, for example. Imagine you're a reader and then someone takes away your books for you forever. You'd just be, oh. Your spiritual practice is now, it becomes your main life. Yeah. And that means transforming your relationships into the spiritual path, your job into the spiritual path, especially if you're a lay person. No one here is ordained, so we're all lay people, so it's all about turning your family life into your spiritual life. Yeah, all these things. And I think very quickly, good practitioners, you get practitioners here in this group, write to me and tell me things. Very quickly, their work life changes from being something that's just miserable experience to, you're experiencing great moments of dharma at work, insight, like in helping people out. And you can go really deep into being a bodhisattva, like working out what people need at your work. Like if you kind of figure out that someone's poor or something and they need food, be like anonymously going into their locker and putting some food in and leaving without them knowing who did it. Yeah, like Secret Service bodhisattva. It's like a bodhisattva, it's like Secret Service. You don't know who's what, who does what. Yeah. It's an obstacle that we talk about karma yoga. In this respect, can be the hardest. The karma yogis need affirmation for what they're doing, because we're very external people. Yeah. So when we're doing something external, it seems to have more impact than a yogi. Yeah. That a yogi just sitting being silent for your benefit doesn't seem as powerful as you cooking for the community when you're on retreat. It seems more powerful than someone praying for you. But if you could see the effects of someone praying for you, you might not think that. But they're doing it anonymously, isn't it? So this ability to just do things anonymously. So my Lama said, like, they have built these retreat huts, and said people will donate like thousands of money to them, but they said they want their name on it, and the retreat, and it's like, no. And he's like, what do you mean, no? And it's like, the whole point is for you to disappear as a person, not to promote yourself as an ego. It's like, goes against the whole meaning of what we're doing. It's like, you want your name, you want it. It's like, you know, that's what we want, isn't it? When we get enlightened, and we get the badge, get the certificate, and we walk down the street, and look at me, I'm nobody. Da, 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 da. This enlightenment, the musical. Here I come, beaming out my light beams for you. Praise me, praise me. Praise me. Does anyone think that's the path to enlightenment? Praise me. I'm going to help you, but praise me. I'm going to sit silently, but no, it's me. Huh? Anyone? I mean, that's what we're all doing, right? You give, and it's like, you just give, and he says, I mean, he's quite hardcore. He's like, he said, sometimes I'll say thank you. That's all you get. If you don't recognize that doing this is for you, that you get the most benefit from it, you're missing the point. You get the most benefit. Yeah. You could, I think maybe like talk about the four ways of practicing. There's karma yoga, the path of devotion, the path of the yogi, and the path of knowledge. But someone's, written to me asking a question, but it would be helpful to you recognize. So, like, first of all, I hope most people can see that they have maybe the three qualities of being a good student. Not that hard to work on. Most people do it naturally, what's appropriate and inappropriate. I mean, we're fortunate we got Ananda here, like in the communities he's practiced before with other people, so he just generally knows what's appropriate and inappropriate, but how to behave and stuff. Like, just come in, you be quiet, be respectful, you have music being played, it's nice, and just an appropriate way to behave. Yeah, people aren't on their phones. It's amazing. It's brilliant. I got a shock again when I went to the Sufi group. So inappropriate. I had to stop myself, turning around, going, "Shut!" I mean, I'm like, I'm not. It's like, it's not my place to do it. It's not my place. But people chatting. What's the teacher's teaching? It's like, I mean, it's just so obvious it's not for their benefit, that they're hurting, harming themselves. Right? So I think, everyone here is great, doing fine. Right? It's like we can look deeply, said some provoking questions about our beliefs, right? Or we can look at, challenge, and what that means, and what we believe in and where they come from. That's something else. So imagine you're at the most beautiful Dharma teaching that you've ever been to. Yeah, talking about love, or living a conscious life and the beauty of love, and there's the most amazing Dharma teaching. Yeah, maybe some of you experience that. Think about that and what that means to you. Do you enjoy that? How much do you enjoy that? then imagine going to the most beautiful retreat hut halfway up Mount Everest or the Himalayas, looking out of this incredibly beautiful valley. It's absolutely crystal clear still. And it's just you in the morning, and you're just sitting on your own. How does that make you feel? Had that experience. Now imagine that you're with 500 people chanting Allah, 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 and you all moving in synchronicity around the enlightened master, praising God. How do you feel? And imagine you're at the best kind of party. You just like you're with all your friends, and you're making the best meal, and you're having the best kind of music playing, and you're creating the best meal for Jesus to come and sit at the table, or the spiritual master, but you're just with other people, and it's like you're having jokes and laughing, and you're creating, you're serving, and then you're going out and you're feeding the homeless, and you just see the joy in as you feed the homeless, and they say, "Thank you so much for feeding me." Which one appeals the most? So maybe to make it clearer, imagine you could only do one. Yeah? And you had to do it for 3 years, 3-year retreat. So just 3 years of studying, listening to the Dharma, and talking about like emptiness, discussions on love, and so every day you get like a talk and discussion, and you do that for 3 years. Yeah, I really think about like basically going to like an ashram and studying like that for 3 years. Nothing else, no meditation, no praying, just. And then imagine you just don't see another person for 3 years, and you just sit up on a mountain, and it's just you. Or you imagine that you go to a Sufi Dargah, and you're just praying. You're not meditating anymore. It's just prayers to Allah, and you're just doing the 5 prayers, and it's just this, and you're singing songs. It's like singing devotional songs, and that's all you're doing for 3 years. Or you imagine you're just with a group of friends, group of people, and you're serving the poor, and you're working for the poor, or you're like creating a community, or you're cooking for people, or doing that for 3 years, just working for people. Which one would you choose? And which one would you absolutely not want to do? And hopefully you get a sense of which one you like. Yeah. Which is we want to do all 4. Yeah. And a lot of the time you do want to do the thing that you like the least. And also sometimes we can be afraid of something we actually really love. And we can hide behind what's comfortable for us. But I think in general, for some people it's kind of obvious what they are. For some people maybe got a mixture of all of them. Yeah. It's not like you have to make some kind of choice, but you just kind of sense. Well, you naturally like it can help you just kind of, if the idea of sitting on your own for 3 years fills you with dread, you'd be pretty dumb to do a 3-year retreat. Doesn't make you any less a practitioner. Yeah. Like in Venerable Geshe-la's book, Joyful Path, he says a teacher had a competition. You can catch the spirit of it between his disciples, one who meditated all the time and one who Drum Tumper, I think it was Drum Tumper who didn't. He said he just Drum Tumper one hands down, who was more spiritually advanced. And then you had the guy who attained realization of emptiness, serving his guru. Geshe Rapton used to drink his guru's piss. That's the extremes to, in which some people would be, because that's how they served. It's an incredible mind, right, isn't it? To see someone that holy. Yeah. I'll try to think of it. Maybe if I met Mohammed. I don't know. Not something you advise to do. That's something it's not many people do that. Yeah. What? Bear Grylls. Oh, right, yeah, people do it. I mean, my friend told me, he said, so-and-so drinks urine. It's like, because it's healthy. He said, do you want to try it? I went, no, I'd rather drink Coke. It's like, each to their own. It's like, I'm not going to, on you go, So my closest friend, that some of you have met, I'd wager most of you have done more meditation than him. But if you're going to go up in front of God to see who's more spiritual, I know who I'm betting on. He does his karma yoga. It just works, serves people. But he's practicing just all the time. It's not like practice is just this. He's got the qualities of the correct student, just wanting to find God. And that this life is beautiful. And this life is God. And God will be uncovered by investigating it, by being truthful, by being honest. These are not like, you can memorize the list, but being honest is just a quality that we take on. And it's up to you whether you're honest or not, or whether you deceive people openly or by omission. Are you curious about life? Do you investigate, explore, enjoy? Do you read poetry? Do you read science? Do you examine science to find God? Do you find God in music? Do you find God in music? Do you find God in sport? Yeah. This is a student on the path, especially if you're a Muslim. Yeah. Muhammad was very clear. You must be intelligent. Yeah. So generally, they're really intelligent. It's like real investigators of reality. Yeah. And there's a beautiful thing. This is one of my favorite things. He said that everything is in the Quran. It's like Allah says everything is in the Quran. And there's this Orientalist when met this Syrian, said, "Really? You believe that? Everything is in the Quran?" I went, "Yep." And it's like, well, does it tell you how many loaves of bread you can get from a bag of wheat? Is it wheat or flour? Flour. Is it flour or wheat? Bag of wheat? Anyone know? Yeah. Bag of wheat. Let's just say bag of wheat. Might be flour. And he went, "Yep." And he went, "Well, prove it." He went, "Hold on." He says, "Go and get so-and-so." And he bring this guy in, and he says, how many loaves of bread do you get from a bag of wheat? And he's like, "Well, it depends. If it's a small bag, I get 10. Medium bag, 15. Big bag, 20. There you go. And he's like, the guy's like, "I don't understand." He says, "Well, he's the local baker." It says, in the Quran, if you don't know, ask an expert. Yeah, so it includes everything. It's like, yeah. And like Muhammad, he said, go to the ends of the earth to find truth. So it's like, if you want to know breathing meditation, ask an expert. It might be in a different tradition, doesn't make any difference, you follow in the Quran. Yeah. Unless, of course, there's two gods. But that's not the message of the Quran. There's only one. Manifesting as all phenomena. And it's like, are you open to all phenomena, or do your beliefs shut you down? Going back to the start. Do your beliefs shut you down? Yeah, that's great. I really love that. And there is another quote from it. I mean, you usually talk about these things on a Wednesday, but for me, sometimes it's just so clear that there's only one path. But that's when we're studying the Lamrim, you'll understand there's only one path. It's just the difference between someone wears maroon, someone wears green. Someone has a big hat, someone has a smaller hat. Someone speaks Spanish, someone speaks Tibetan. So this is from the Quran. As for those who strive in our path, we will surely guide them in our ways, and verily God is with those who do good. So is doing good belong to Christianity? Atheism? God is love. God, if you do good, God's with you. Yeah. And so that's the quality of just being a student. You just know what's good. And we all know what's good. It's in our heart. If you do that, God's with you. And then if you have a qualified teacher, they say when that combination comes together, enlightenment's inevitable. Yeah. So I say very quickly, if you have the qualities of the student, we'll go through the other 4 on Wednesday, because the classes that I do last 2-3 hours, so I've broken them into shorter classes for us, because it's nice to get a couple of meditations in. What was I just talking about? I can't remember what I was going to say. What was I just talking about?
You were saying how one path.
Wait, I think, sorry, and then, sorry, could you say it?
You were speaking of how all of it's one path, and the Lamrim is the essence of it.
Yeah, it's all one path. I think I was just going to tell you how you're all good. Yep, when it all comes together, that's it. People get results really quickly. Yeah. People write to me and just like have experienced their nature of their mind, that their work changes really quick, their family life can change really quick, you can experience, suddenly your parents don't bother you as much, just very quickly you can start to get spiritual experiences. And again, depending on what type you are, this can be another measure, is very quickly you'll get the path will be clear to you in your mind. Yeah, if you're like a knowledge person and you start to really play with knowledge, if you're a yogi, very quickly you start to experience meditation, a peaceful mind. And if you're a bhakti, very quickly you start receiving the blessings. Yeah, say sometime within a year you start to, first of all it'll start as like a little trickle in your head. So sometimes it can feel like raindrops, the blessings, and then it starts to, this energy just pours into you. Yeah, and then very quickly your work can go smoothly. You enjoy being with people. Yeah, it works out. You can be with people and really enjoy. Your work can be transformed very quickly. Yeah. If these things aren't happening, yeah, let's say if none of this, like you've come along and you've been practicing for a year or a couple of years and nothing's happened, and you've got all these qualities of a student, tell me, and then I'll probably, take a break from teaching, because I'm not teaching, right? If you have those qualities, then it's my fault. There's no doubt about it. And it's not a one-sided thing. I'd say it's two-sided. The teacher has to have these qualities, the student has these qualities, and if you're practicing, things will happen. But if you find that nothing's happening, you're still just the same schmuck as before, but you're actually open-minded, open-hearted, you're putting it into practice, you're behaving inappropriately, you're doing good, and you've got enthusiasm and you joy, and nothing's happening, like you're having no insights, no moments, and you're just the same miserable, depressed state that you're in that started, let me know. But it doesn't seem to be the case. So I get lovely letters from people. And when we talk on Wednesday, it's good to have discussion, then you can all hear each other. You realize how wise you are. You know, if I could record the things that come out of your mouth and I could do it anonymously and say, this is a sutra from Buddha, you'd believe it. It's actually something you said from your experience. And that's very beautiful. Yeah. It's very simple. Yeah. Especially I think the Buddhist path can sometimes, again, because we take the words over the meaning, can sometimes seem negative. That's Buddhist emphasis. But Muhammad, he was like, this is just to make your life joyful. This has come as a blessing. Everything is for a blessing. Yeah. So there's just one interesting factor that if following the spiritual path doesn't feel like a blessing, but we ourselves are miserable, what is this strange attachment to negativities? Why are we so attached to things that don't make us happy? Isn't it weird? Isn't it weird? You know, so it shows this habit, you know, what's that program? Is it Google Box or something? Where you just have sloths just merged into the sofa, just beer and popcorn, just you don't really seem that happy. I mean, I'm sure a couple of them are. You know, but if you actually tried to get them up and, you know, do you think it would be good to get them off the screen and doing some physical exercise and being part of the community? That's one thing we really miss, right? Is that community. More and more so now, if you're just in community. It's very simple. These things are just so simple. Just being with people. Sitting with yourself, being with people, engaging with people, doing some prayers, doing some study, some enthusiasm. I'm on the spiritual path. Hallelujah. It's like I've been given a practice. Incredible. I can really relax into our life without too much grasping. Isn't it? And hopefully if you have those qualities, you think, fuck, I'm on the path. Sometimes it'll hit you, it strikes you. What is just like, and the truth goes deeper and deeper. Like sometimes it will strike you just who Muhammad is. And it's like the mind breaks. It's just, you've got this materialistic paradigm which talks about people and what they are, and what the spirit, the human spirit is, and what God is. And the mind just cannot believe it. We have these moments. Easy if you're a parent and your child comes out, that you experience something that, a level of love that you couldn't imagine. You imagine that into God, what life actually is, this gift of life. And that the exploration, and that like God sends down these messengers, Buddha, Christ, Zoroaster, whatever it is, the American Indian mystics all over, just to wake you up. And this incredible journey. And all we need to do is just be open to it. Just be open-minded. Just be enthusiastic. And just have common sense about what's good and appropriate. Yeah. Then we're off. You can say, it can be a joyful time, the boats. My teacher said, when you find the spiritual path, it's like you set off on a journey, Titanic. Well, maybe not, well, let's not say the Titanic, although that may be true for a few people. Party time, flags flying, you got all your family there going, way! It's like, yeah, we're going on a journey. Little Bilbo, I'm going on an adventure. Running down the track. And then it's like, after a few days, it's like the dwarfs saying, can you make the rain stop, Gandalf? It's like, it's rain, Master Dwarf. It's like, and then it's like, oh, and then you enter the marshes, but then we got the whole journey, right? But usually it's just sea. Another day of sea. Another day of sea. Another day of sea. And then there's no perspective. You think, are we even moving? And then there's a storm. And there's another day of sea. Another day. That's more like how the journey goes. It's like, first until you get to the end and then you see the other shore and it's like, oh! And then you shit your pants, right, again? And then you say, woo! I quite like the boat, actually. I knew the captain, and then I knew the crew, I knew my little Sangha. It's like, no, we're off into the unknown again. Anyway, I'm rambling. Forgive me. Let us finish with the dedication. So if you can, and you felt, yeah, great, I'm on the path, or that joy, imagine giving it away. And go, no, God, actually send me back to being completely ignorant. But give all this joy and meaning to someone else who you think needs it. And imagine them experiencing the joy instead. And make it a genuine wish that merit ripens on them. And then we say the dedication. May all living beings find peace. May they be safe and at ease. May they find refuge in the oceans of loving mercy. By this merit, may all beings attain freedom from the stormy waves of birth, aging, sickness, and death. May all attain true freedom from samsara. Okay, so thank you so much for your kind attention. So continue exploring with the breathing meditation. You notice the meditations, just like little subtle differences in the meditations. And even now you can experiment with finding your ground a little bit. You may just want to do the breathing meditation completely, or you still may want to just do 10 minutes of loving kindness, especially towards yourself in the beginning. But as long as you're practicing those two things, or still equanimity, then play with it. The operative word is you play with it. You love it like a child, and you play like an instrument. You explore and find out for yourself what you enjoy. And you're not making up stuff. You're exploring through these methods and techniques, and then finding what you enjoy going with. That's okay, that makes sense? Okay, thank you so much. God bless.